Imagine waking up in Rome, 79 AD, in a cramped apartment with your entire family, no running water, no electricity. Yet Romans built an empire that lasted 500 years. So what was life actually like for ordinary Romans? Let's find out. Wealthy Romans lived in beautiful homes with courtyards and gardens. Most Romans lived in cramped apartments called insulae, dark, dangerous, and packed with families. These 7-story wooden buildings had no proper heating, ventilation, or plumbing. Fire was a constant threat and people threw waste out windows into the streets below. The wealthy enjoyed exotic meats and elaborate banquets. Ordinary Romans ate bread, beans, and cheap fish sauce. That was their entire diet. Most Romans didn't have kitchens, so they bought hot food from street vendors called thermopolia. You'd hand over a bowl and get it filled with soup or stew. An unskilled worker earned barely enough to buy one loaf of bread per day. Joining the military was often the best option because soldiers got paid, fed, and housed. Women worked as traders, shopkeepers, or in textile production, but always earned less than men. For most, life was about survival, not comfort. The father held absolute authority over everyone, his wife, children, and even adult sons. Women had limited rights and were expected to produce heirs. Children worked from a young age and education was rare. Most Romans couldn't read or write. 1 in 4 people in Rome was enslaved. Slaves were considered property, not people, and could be beaten, abused, or worked to death. Some enslaved people worked as educated professionals, but the vast majority lived brutal lives with no hope for freedom. Slavery was fundamental to how Rome worked. Romans loved gladiatorial games and chariot racing that packed arenas with thousands. Fans made baits and got so passionate that riots broke out. Bathhouses were social centers where people exercised, ate, and relaxed. This was where ordinary Romans spent their free time. Roman society was rigidly structured, patricians at the top with power, plebeians in the middle, and slaves at the bottom with no rights. Your birth determined your entire life. What you wore showed your status. Togas meant you were a citizen. Purple borders meant you held office. Everyone knew their place. Meet Marcus, a working-class mason. He wakes before dawn and buys bread and watered wine from a street vendor before heading to work. He works until midday when it gets too hot, then heads to the public bathhouse, the social center where he relaxes with friends. In the afternoon, he drinks wine at a tavern and plays dice games. As sunset approaches, he heads home where his wife has managed to get food. They eat together by lamplight and sleep. Tomorrow he'll wake and do it all again. It's simple, hard, and repetitive. Life in ancient Rome was marked by extreme inequality. The wealthy lived in luxury while the poor struggled daily. Yet ordinary Romans built an empire that lasted centuries. They created art and literature that still moves us, and developed systems of law that influenced every government after them. Understanding their lives reminds us that throughout history, most people face the same challenges we face today, making a living and just trying to get by. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more about how ancient people actually lived.